Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about if you're scared, your ex will lose their bond with you. You know, when you're going through a breakup, everything kind of feels hopeless. Particularly when you have an ex that gets really cold and is mean to you, and maybe they start dating somebody else and you just kind of feel like it's never going to turn around. And you really just believe you're never going to hear from them again. They won't ever give you another chance. And you just kind of become convinced of it.
And it's a question I hear a lot with shorter term relationships. People always ask, was it long enough to really form an attachment and form a bond?
Yeah, it's a good question. But we have a good example today of what we're always trying to teach you and what we see all the time in our coachings. People don't forget about you. Even short-term relationships, people will surprisingly come back in your life. And when I tell you guys, you've got to stay committed to the personal growth, I truly mean it. Because most of you will stay only as motivated as much as you believe your ex will come back. Right?
It's a sad truth.
But you got to operate like your ex will come back and you'll have another chance and you want to blow them away. Because even if they don't, somebody that you really like will come along eventually and you don't want to mess things up with them. Right? You want to blow them away. So I got a good email coaching from somebody that shares kind of what we're trying to teach you guys all the time. This is a really bizarre one, but it's going to help show you people don't forget about you. Right? All right. So they said, "Hello, guys. I wanted to share a really weird experience I had yesterday. You guys, the coaches, are always preaching to us that no contact is the best bet to get an ex to reach out. Well, guess what? You're totally right. And it wasn't an ex. And it wasn't even an effort to get an ex back. It was a girl that we used to text like 5 years ago in the span of like a week."
Wow.
So he talked to this girl 5 years ago for like a week. And here she is reaching out years later.
It's wild.
But it just goes to show that people come back, and you'll be surprised how long it may be when people come back. Like we did the video, my ex came back after 50 years. We have a video called that, and it was a really good one because it's articulating what we're trying to teach you guys. Stay motivated regardless of what's going on with your ex currently. If you're using your belief for your motivation, you're going to wind up disappointing yourself, right?
Right. And if you also jump to conclusions based off of how you're feeling, then your thoughts are going to be all over the place. You know, you could be seeing that your ex maybe isn't so responsive right now. Maybe you are in no contact, haven't heard from them in some months. And right now you're feeling really discouraged. Just because you're feeling discouraged doesn't mean that's how the future will actually play out. You know, our feelings and reality can be two totally different things.
Yes. And so you always want to stay motivated, okay? Because the last thing you want to happen is your ex comes back and you're not prepared. Or you meet somebody else that you're blown away by and you're not ready for it. Because we've had it. In fact, I just had a call last week where it happened. And the guy was beating himself up. And he wasn't doing the work. And he knows it and he felt bad about it. But don't let your ex's interest level in the moment dictate how motivated you stay. That's what we keep trying to reiterate. Right? Yeah. I sound like a broken record because I hate when I get those calls. And they keep saying, you know, "You're going to kill me. I didn't do the work." I'm trying to avoid those. I'm trying to avoid these calls. Please.
For Craig's blood pressure. Please, guys.
All right, so let's go on with this story. And he goes, "The backstory is there wasn't even a backstory. But no contact was still really effective, LOL. Here's the story I wanted to share for the guys and gals that are really desperate right now. And I hope it helps them soothe their anxiety that we all have. I was dumped recently too. Yesterday, I just finished reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I strongly recommend it to everyone. Literally, the minute I finished it and started to think how I'd start implementing the information I've learned to my ex, if she reaches out, or to my future partners, I got a text from an unknown number. I know, the infamous disturbance in the force. And it's true. I was like, who's this? To which she said, I knew you wouldn't remember me.
Ooh, ouch. But I will say something about that book. It is an excellent book as far as like human interactions, and especially if you're beginning to date, the book does talk a lot about how people love to talk about themselves, kind of making other people feel important. And so it's an excellent read if you guys are back in the dating pool trying to figure out your life.
Yep. I read that one a long time ago.
Yeah.
The girl said her name after that, but I honestly had no idea who she was. Funny as it sounds, I asked her to show me a picture of herself because I told her I knew a lot of girls with the same name and wanted to make sure I knew whom I was talking to. That was an excuse, obviously. I didn't want to sound rude to some stranger. She sent me a picture, and it took me literally 30 minutes to remember who she was. I finally remembered, and it was a girl that we used to text for about a week 5 years ago.
Wow.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
We never even met because we were living in different cities far away. I don't remember how we even started texting in the first place. Probably AOL Chat Messenger or something.
Maybe.
I remember she ghosted me after a week of texting, and since I wasn't really into her, I forgot she existed.
Oh.
Since I've just finished reading the book, I had to refresh on the lessons it taught me and decided to experiment on her. As rude as that might sound, one of the lessons teaches that every single person have the strongest desire to feel important.
That's what I was just talking about. And I will also say, it's not necessarily rude for him to say that he's experimenting these different social tactics on people.
Yeah.
Technically we all are all of the time. Every interaction is us throwing stuff out there and seeing how people respond, and us either consciously or subconsciously noticing people's reactions to how we behave. So, kudos to him for trying to apply some information.
Yeah.
Even with this random person from 5 years ago. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And it wasn't a bad thing. He was trying to make her feel important.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like it was bad. Let's go on. So I tried remembering some information about her and wanted to make her feel somewhat important to me, just to see what will happen. Does that sound cruel and terrible of me?
Oh, terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
Just terrible. I remembered she was a teacher. I asked her, how's teaching going? To which she excitedly replied, I knew you'd remembered me. Now, didn't she just say, I didn't think you'd remember me earlier? Now she's like, I knew you'd remember me. How quickly she changed her tune, huh? I really didn't remember much though, haha. After that, she said she's been thinking about me recently. Look at that. Someone from 5 years ago thinking about you. That you texted for a week.
Wow.
And still had my number in her phone and just decided to reach out. She then proceeded to ask if I'm single. So obviously there's interest there. If I'm seeing anyone, and started to show interest in me. For example, do you plan on visiting my city anytime soon?
Wow.
I'd love to meet and catch up. And he says, what? Catching up? We weren't even friends in the first place. I have no interest in pursuing her romantically, and I've already told her so in a polite way, since I want to heal from my recent breakup and prepare for the chance that my ex eventually reaches out. Or not. But she keeps blowing up my phone, even at the exact moment I'm writing this email, and it's getting kind of overwhelming. Look at that. Look at how interesting people are when all of a sudden their interest level is there and they're anxious over you. Their behavior escalates quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And exes will do that too. You'll be shocked that an ex will have zero interest, come back like this, and all of a sudden their interest level is high. But you have to stay disciplined in those moments, because a lot of people get overexcited and they blow it by coming on too strong.
Yeah, and I think this is also a really good lesson about overthinking. You really just don't know what other people are going through. You really don't know what your ex is going through. We can concoct a million reasons as to why our ex isn't reaching out to us, but all of those reasons could be 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Could be something totally different that we would have never thought of. So I'm hoping that this gives some comfort in that overthinking probably won't get you anywhere.
Yep. You oftentimes know a lot less than you think you do about what's going on with your ex. There's a lot of mind reading that people do, and assuming, and just because your ex is acting cold, you assume they're always going to be that way. So believe me, you don't know as much as you feel like you do. Even though some of you are screaming at the phone, "Oh no, I know my ex." Right? How many times have you had people say something on the call? "Oh, that will never happen. This is never going to happen." And then it does.
Yep.
And they're like, "I couldn't believe it. You were right."
One thing that I've learned through this job is that people are capable of pretty much anything.
Yeah, it's so true.
So don't ever outrule anything.
It's so true. All right, so we got a little bit more here. Okay, so he talked about feeling overwhelmed, and then he said, "This is exactly how our exes probably feel about us when we keep reaching out and they're not interested in hearing from us in the moment." Exactly. I'm writing this email because I wanted to encourage all your listeners and myself, hoping my last ex reaches out like that, and that there's always hope, and people don't just forget us like that, even though in that case, there wasn't really an emotional connection, long-term relationship, or any of the kind of bonds we usually develop with our partner, which is a big reason why I'm doing this one today, to show you guys that. They texted a week 5 years ago, and she's reaching out. So you don't know if your ex will or will not reach out in the future. You'd be shocked.
Yeah.
A little bit more here. So guys and gals, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Stick to what the coaches are preaching, because they're pretty spot on. Thank you for all your hard work, coaches. And he sends his love to both myself and Coach Victoria. And he considers himself a Jedi Master, which I'm sure he's not quite there yet, but keep up the hard work. But this was a good one to keep you guys motivated. Forget about what your ex has been acting like with you recently. I know it overwhelms you and discourages you, but imagine right now if your ex reached out in 5 months. You want to be ready for that moment, okay? And if they don't, what if you meet somebody that blows your ex away in 5 months?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is why that work is so important, especially working through all those childhood issues. As you're talking, I'm thinking, imagine somebody who has been neglected in childhood or didn't get their emotional needs met. They're already predisposed to have this idea that people are going to forget me.
Yep.
And so going through an experience like a breakup, you might think, is my ex going to forget me? Are they able to just snap their fingers and I disappear from their life? I would say your ex is not going to forget you unless they have like Alzheimer's or dementia, but even in those cases, the body still remembers.
Yeah.
You see those videos where people who suffer with dementia, they have moments of remembering.
Yeah.
And I really do think that our minds are really powerful. Our bodies store memories and information. It's very hard to forget somebody who has made an impact.
That's right. And people will reach out. Even if they're showing no interest right now, it doesn't mean they won't change their mind. Now, of course, we're not essentially telling you put your life on hold or for 5 years or anything like that, but we're just trying to get you to understand you want to continue staying motivated and doing the work regardless of how your ex is acting currently.
Exactly. And in this situation, he chose not to pursue that possible relationship.
Yeah.
And that might be an option too. At some point you might hear back from your ex and you might think, is this a connection that I want to pursue or not? So that's why that work is really important.
Absolutely. So hopefully this one has been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here if you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.